It's not about your brand. Don't worry about your brand. Just come in the room and do good work. And then I just want to pause and go, but how am I going to get in the room? How are you going to get in the room? That's branding. You don't walk in the room and go, hello, casting director, this is my brand. No, you are your brand, right? But it has to be clear to get in.
Welcome to Acting Smarter Now podcast. I am your host, Lydia Nicole. Today, I had the pleasure of interviewing Jodie Bentley. Jodie is an actress as well as an acting career coach. If you are an actor who is clueless as to what you should be doing, who is depressed because you're not getting any acting jobs, who feels lost because no one is calling you, you're not booking anything, you're not even getting auditions, you're going to love this interview. Jodie breaks down branding for the actor, marketing for the actor, and strategy for the actor. She has a great course called The Actors Think Tank, and you're going to love this interview. If you are in need of help as an actor, this is for you. Check it out. So tell me, why does an actor need a career coach if they're taking acting classes? Why should they have a career coach?
That's a really great question. When I never thought that I needed a career coach. When I approached my career, thought I could do it all myself. I had to figure it out. It can't be that hard. It's got to be pretty easy to figure all this out. And that got me nowhere fast in spinning my wheels for a good 8 years after I graduated college. So I firmly believe in the power of coaches in general, right? Like if you want to lose weight, getting a health coach or get fit, getting a trainer. Athletes have coaches. When I was doing musical theater, I had a voice coach, a singing coach. I would go to dance lessons, have dance teachers, dance coaches. So when it comes to business, it's not what actors think about as something that they need to do, right? You just want to act and be creative. So having a career coach can really have someone, first of all, help you understand and navigate the ins and outs of the industry and the business. And number two, give you that pair of outside eyes, because it's so hard in this business, because you as an actor, I as an actor, you as an actor, we're also the product. And we can't see ourselves. And sometimes we can't see the strategy clearly because we're so emotionally attached. So I really believe having a coach in any capacity for what you need, but even especially as your acting career, and having a career coach, I think is so important to have someone just to have that 10,000 foot view on your career, and just seeing it differently than you do as the emotional acting creature that you are. Yeah.
So, what made you become an acting career coach? Because you're an actor. What
Yes.
made you decide you were going to include that in your life plan?
It it happened out of necessity because I needed it as an actor. So I mentioned that I floundered for a long time, right? I went to NYU, Tisch School of the Arts. And when I graduated at 21 or whatever I was like, I'm going to be on Broadway in 1 year and it's going to be amazing. And it was so much harder than I thought it would be. Because college, and rightly so, they train your craft, right? They help you have an open instrument to be able to do anything, but they don't, and still don't, as far as I know, bring you back to like, okay, but this is who I am and this is what I'm going to book. So I floundered for a long time. And finally, and I had some success, here and there, but it just felt like everything was random and rare. And I didn't want to have a career built on random and rare. So I said, okay, I'm missing something. And I decided to read every business book that I could. I read everything for like 6 months. I was a sponge just on trying to understand branding principles, marketing principles, sales principles that are used in the real world. And after my self education, I started to go, okay, I understand this branding fundamental. How can I apply that to me? How can I put that on me, the artist, me, the person? And I started building even like the basis of the branding systems that I teach today and the marketing systems that I teach today. But within 6 months of doing that, I had my first agent in New York. I got an off-Broadway show. I had a cast recording with Steven Schwartz. I started booking commercials left and right. And all of this happened simply because I started applying these business principles. And then, because all this stuff happened, all of my actor friends were coming to me saying, "Can I pick your brain? What are you doing? How did you do that? How did you get here? What are you doing differently?" And so then after about, the 40th free coffee date with my actor friends, I said, I think I have a skill set that I've learned, and a skill set that most actors don't have, because it's not what we're trained in. And it's okay, right? It's okay to not be trained in it, but I learned it out of necessity of saying this is not the career I wanted, and I'm not getting anywhere fast. So I need to do something about it. So really, I became a coach to myself and then realized, oh, this is knowledge that everyone needs. And then my business just grew from there. And that was 2008 was when I first started coaching other people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to the last year that you were at NYU,
Yeah.
and you're thinking life is going to open up to you and be fantastic. As soon
Fantastic.
as you graduate, people are going to be right
Yeah.
there in your graduation saying, Jodie, we need you. We want to book you right away. Uh,
Yeah.
how did you, because I'm always amazed with young talent. They go to school, they train to be actors, they're taking all their courses, they're doing all this stuff, but as soon as they graduate, the expectation is, I'm going to be a star now.
Yes.
Everybody's going to be banging on my door. I'm going to have to turn people away. And this even applies to students from Yale and
Oh, sure.
from Juilliard, where we expect that these schools are going to open doors for you,
Yeah.
and it doesn't, especially if you
Yeah.
don't have a plan or a strategy before you get out of school. So
Totally.
in your last year of school, walk me through some of the stuff that you were doing in anticipation of this big career.
So, okay. Well, we had one business class at NYU. Um, but it's just a fact, but it wasn't, mm, a lot of times the teachers in the collegiate level, university level, they're not in the field doing it. You know what I mean? Like they maybe did it 10 years ago and now they're teaching. So when you don't have someone who's in the trenches and understanding the trends of what's happening, I don't think you're getting the best education that you can. So the business class that I had was not helpful. And how I prepared to go out in the real world, I don't know. I saved some money and knew I wanted to have in my own apartment. Like it wasn't any thought of. I mean, I wrote down goals. I think I probably wrote down like 12 goals that I had. Like I'm going to be a star in soap operas, and then Broadway, and then voiceover, and then commercials. And then, like I had the goals. But I didn't do much to prepare. But I will say this: the last show that I did, I went to Stella Adler Conservatory at NYU, and the last show that I did, um, it was 12th night, and I got to play Feste, who was the clown, and so I grew out my armpit hair, and I grew out my leg hair, and it was a bald hunchback man. So I wore a bald cap, and did all this physical work. And my acting teacher, my last year, she was like, "That is brilliant. You are brilliant." So how I prepared was thinking, like, I'm just gonna be like method about it, and that wasn't even a method training. But as long as I can grow up my armpit hair or my leg hair, I really dive deep into a character, I'll make it. Not realizing that the real world is not going to see me as a bald hunchbacked man, no matter how good I am at playing that. So I don't think I've really prepared at all, is basically what I'm saying. I should go out in the real world. I just thought my talent would carry me. I really did. I thought I'll just show up to auditions and they'll book things, and then that will propel everything forward. And yeah, I booked stuff, but then I'd go back and audition again, and then I'd wait for a while, then I'd book stuff, then go back to auditioning. So I didn't really prepare myself. I just thought it would happen. I think I just trusted that it would happen.
You just said something that 95% of actors do, which is we think we can do everything. We think that, being an actor means you do everything. I get to
Yeah.
play the old man. I get to play the Chinese person. I get to,
Right.
instead of starting to hone in what our specific skill
Yeah.
sets are as an actor,
Yeah.
like really taking in the business
Yep.
aspect of it. It's not that we can't do everything, it's that we can't get paid for everything. We can do
Yeah.
anything we want,
Yeah.
but can we get paid for it? And I love the fact that you took all of your training, all of your crash and burning, so to speak. It's like, oh my God, this isn't working. What am I going to do? That you had the what we're all to go, you know what? I think I need to take a step back. I think I need to know about the business side of it, because the
Yeah.
business side is what dictates the craft.
Yeah.
It dictates the talent. It's not the
Yeah.
other way around. I'm so talented. They're going to see me and put me in
Right.
everything. But it
Right.
it is positioning yourself so you can be seen, so that people can take notice of you, and that people will give you work, because it
Yes.
is a business. It's not, if you want to act, do community theater, but if you want to make a
Right.
living at the craft, you have to know the business.
Yeah.
So tell me some of the things that you offer in your actor think tank. Tell me
Yeah.
some of the things you offer in the actors think tank. That's a tongue twister.
It is. It is. Yeah, the Actors Think Tank is my signature product. It's literally all of my failures and all of my successes are in that content. Do you know what I mean? It's like everything that I've managed to learn and refine and tweak and improve as a system that works is in there. So, like, I really approach being an actor from a holistic place, right? Like, I'm not an actor and then I'm a person over here. It's like, well, no, I'm an actor and this is my life and I'm a human being. And so I approach it from a very holistic place, and I have sort of 7 steps in there to be a working actor. And the first one is all about mindset, right? It's mindset, and then figuring out the career that you want to have. Because when I first graduated college, I was like, I want to be musical theater Broadway. That was my goal. That's not my goal now. And I think sometimes we hold on to goals that we've had and go, no, but I said this 20 years ago, so I still have to do it, as opposed to going, well, how have I evolved as an artist, as a person, as a human? So I really walk people through just the entire system of again, from mindset to branding to marketing to how to network to finances, right? Even being able to live as an artist. What does that mean? How to balance your own money? I was going to say checkbook. Who balances a checkbook anymore? I don't know. And then going into sales, how to sell yourself, how to get an agent, how to do all of that. So it really walks you through everything. It's very all inclusive and holistic. And yeah, I launched that in 2019, and it's grown global. And I'm really proud of it, and I'm really proud of the successes that my clients have from going through the program.
Well, I want to be transparent here, because I took a course from you when you were doing the Savvy Actor
Yes.
back back in what, 2010 or 9,
Yeah.
whenever you had just come to Los Angeles with Kevin, and you guys were doing this course at a little theater. I believe it was at the Elephant Theater,
Elephant
or
theater. Yeah.
yes. And so and what I love is that you have been consistent in refining your tools,
Yeah.
not just as an actor, but as a businesswoman.
Yeah. Thank you.
And so I want to do a little forensic audit here. Uh, what? No, because I think it's important, as actors, that we can look at our failures or look at things that didn't work out in the way we
Yeah.
wanted to. And instead of, wanting to commit suicide, which we tend to want, we're so dramatic,
Right.
something doesn't work and then we don't work. It's like, oh
Mhm.
my God, life is horrible. I can't do it.
Right.
But tell me about uh Savvy Actor, because
Yeah.
it was a much toned down version of what you do now.
Yeah.
and and what you discovered, because you also had a partner, and that's complicated for
Yes.
anybody who's getting into collaborations. You have to be on the same page. So I want to hear your forensics audit, your forensic audit about what you learned from doing that program.
Ooh. I learned that business partnerships are challenging. And yeah, God, I learned so much with that. Um, yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I think partnerships are challenging. I think what we had managed to create was really special. And it's still very sad to me that it didn't continue, that it had to end. And then I had to, reincarnate in a different way. Um, but just when you have two people who have two different points of view, or just don't start to see the growth in the same trajectory, it just becomes challenging. And it was a shame because I think we really built something really special. So I think what I learned from that experience, really, Lydia, is that um, I have a very clear vision on what I want, how I want to support my community of actors, what I want to give to my community of actors, and the legacy that I want to leave in this world. And what I realized is that I was so clear, and I think I was afraid to start a business on my own, which is also why I had a partner. And when I sort of rebooted and came back and doing it on my own, um, it just felt right. Like everything just settled, because I had a clear vision and I didn't have to modify it or yeah, modify it or change it for anyone because I knew what it was. So yeah,
The beauty of it, as I am the observer of the forensic audit, is that it gives you a place from which to go to. It's like you get to look at it, having had collaborations in the past with, people on big projects, and I was like, oh my God, this is the best project. We're going to do so well. And what I didn't take in at the beginning, because I think as actors sometimes we just jump in. Oh, that's a great idea. Let's
yeah,
do it. And we don't do the work beforehand. The
yeah,
who, what, where, why, when, how, to ask the other person so that we can see, why do you want to do this? What do you want from it? How will it affect you? Where do you see us going to ask those questions, to make sure that you are both aligned and that you are both able to carry the load together.
yeah,
Because what I've learned from having collaborations is that someone is always the one who is the most responsible, and everything falls on that person, which makes
yeah,
it a burden instead of a joy.
yes,
And if we jump into something, because I did the same thing you did in jumping into projects, because I was scared to do it by myself,
yeah,
that I felt like, oh, I I can't do it by myself. And then realizing, no, bitch, you've been doing it by yourself this whole time. These people haven't helped you. You've been the one pulling the cart, so you don't need anybody. And I think it's important, don't you? It's important to
yes,
be able to sit with, because it's like a marriage, maybe
yeah,
even more than a regular marriage, because you got to come together whether you want to or not. If you're married and it's not working, you just like, I'm out of here. But when you have a business, you got your
right.
finances entangled,
Oh
your
yeah,
name is entangled, everything is together, where you have to think about, how are we going to do 5 years from now? Whether you're an actor,
yeah,
a writer, a filmmaker, how are we going to be 5, 10 years from now? Do we have the same vision, the same mission,
yeah,
and the same purpose of why we're doing it? Some people do something because they want the money. Some people do it because they want to be of service. Some people do it because they want to be creative. None of it is bad. It's just making sure that you are both on the same page with it. So I first of all, I loved The Savvy Actor. I took a lot away from it. It was like I knew stuff, but then listening to how you and Kevin framed it gave me a different perspective
oh,
of
I love
what I already knew,
right,
at certain levels.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
it gave me insight of things like I didn't even think about before. I'm a big believer in career coaches. I think, my personal opinion is that actors are just like athletes, like Olympic athletes. Olympic athletes work on their mindset all the time. They work on their skill set, but the mindset has to come first. And that was something that you talked about in the actors think tank, is that that's the first thing you cover. And I believe that you can't go anywhere if your mindset is wrong, because nothing is going to win for you. You're not going to accomplish anything if you have a stinking thinking attitude, or if you're the victim. You know, you're the victim of the world. You blame everybody else, but you don't take responsibility for anything you do. And as actors, it we are the CEO. So um I want to find out what is important for an actor regarding mindset in your eyes.
Ooh, God, there's so much. You know, we were just talking about, right? Of, oh, feeling like I needed a partner to move forward, right? And a lot of that is just wrapped up in imposter syndrome, right? Or not feeling worthy, or all of that stuff. And I think, I mean, I'll speak for myself. I think I became an actor because I was seen and heard, right, when I was acting, and I wasn't seen and heard as a child, and it gave me a creative playground to almost heal. And I think acting is very healing, and I do think a lot of actors come to it from that regard, as a healing modality of some sort. But I also think with that, we tend to bring some baggage, right? Like I was bringing this baggage of like, I'm not good enough, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it, right? All the imposter syndrome. So I think as an to be a happy artist, I'll say that, to be a happy artist, I think it's really important. Um, can I just say, to understand your bullshit? Can I just say that? Like, it's it's to understand your bullshit. Like, what gets in your way? What keeps coming up over and over again? Where do you stop yourself? And being able to recognize it. And so many people don't, like you said, actors don't take responsibility, or even people don't take responsibility and play the victim because it's easier. But if you actually know, oh no, I'm just doing my thing again. Oh no, that imposter syndrome's kicking in. I can see it now. So I know how to reframe it. Like if we can bear witness to ourselves and call ourselves out on our own bullshit, then we can move forward and through it. So for mindset, I think it's you got to know yourself. You just got to know yourself. And I don't know about you, Lydia, but like I became an actor to be other people. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to be myself. I just want to be other people. But then the more you're in this business, and again, to be happy, to be sane, to be balanced, you really got to know who you are and what makes you tick and what lights you up and what gets in your way and what are your damn excuses and how are you stopping yourself and what's the self-sabotage. Like you got to get really clear on that to be able to move through it.
Well, it's also um, we may come in broken,
Yeah.
because I see it as not happy, but a healing. That we
Yes.
come,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
we come broken. We want attention. We want people to like us. We want this. So, in the process of it, how do I like myself?
Yeah.
How do I stand up for myself?
Yeah.
How do I
Huge.
serve other people instead of it being the me song? You know, it
Mhm.
me, I need me. You know, it's like, how about us? Because acting really is
Yep.
about us, right? And
Yes.
it, and going back to what you said earlier, you have to be a complete person in
Yeah.
order to be whole. That is the best way you can serve characters, because then you can see the cracks. You can see, oh, I know this person, I've been there, you know, and making sure that you're taking care of yourself with a therapist or some kind of group where you guys get to talk about your issues so you can get beyond that, instead of, you know, looking at the issue and just staying there forever. I think it's important as an actor to understand the good, the bad, the ugly without judgment. You know,
Yes.
this is where I was, but I get better every day. I get to move a little bit more every day. And the power that actors have is ginormous when used properly. You know, you get to affect people's lives. You know, during the pandemic, that's all people had was
Yeah.
binge watching
Right.
shows or movies,
Right.
or, you
It
know,
was
so
healing and entertaining, and it's powerful. It's really powerful.
we make a difference. So, my
Yeah.
question for you is,
Yeah.
as someone, because you are an artist, you're a human being first, then an artist, and then a I want to say you're kind of a priest in a sort of way.
Oh
You've
my God.
decided to take on people, and help them discover parts of themselves that maybe they didn't know, give them
Yeah.
the courage they didn't have before, um, light up their faith so that they feel
Mhm.
empowered to go and try something.
Yeah.
So you come fully loaded on a lot of levels. I want to know, how do you fill your well
Mm.
as an artist, as a woman, and as a business person?
That's a big question. Of course, you're
Take your
asking me
time,
this.
girl. Take your time.
And of course, you're asking me this question on like a week where I'm like already overwhelmed with everything that I need to do. It's I have something framed and printed here on my desk. And it basically, it says, I'm going to read it. It says, it's not selfish to love yourself, take care of yourself, and to make your happiness a priority. It's necessary. And it's taken me a long time to live that. I was a consummate people pleaser for most of my life. I've been a caretaker for probably since I was 8 years old, taking care of my sister and my parents. I was always about outward energy, giving, 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 giving. And, that got very draining in my life. So it's taken me a long time to realize that self care is also a superpower and not something that just needs to happen just because, right? It's not just about going to get your nails done. You know what I mean? Like self care is much deeper than that. Um, so yeah, I mean, even though I did work a couple hours yesterday because I'm in a pretty busy season, like Sundays are like sacred Sundays. Like, so my husband and I, sometimes we don't even shower, we don't even do anything. It's like we're just going to spend the day together and have that day and see where the day takes us with no agenda. And for me, that's huge self-care, because in order to do all that I do, I have to be very structured in my time. I have to be very disciplined and where I'm putting my focus, just because I'm balancing so many things. So for me, the filling up the well is, Sundays doing nothing, going for a walk and getting a coffee and seeing where we go. But also for me, um, filling up my well creatively. I got my butt back in an acting class this year, and I hadn't been in an acting class. I did it on Zoom during the pandemic, but I hadn't been in an in-person acting class since probably 2018, 2017. So that's been filling me up creatively. I wrote a screenplay last year about my parents and my experience with both of them have passed now. And that was really cathartic and creative and healing on such a different level. So for me, I know now, I know myself, as I was saying, we got to know who we are. Like, I know that if I'm going through the day and I just start to feel like, oh, like everything feels here, I know I need to like slow my roll and do something. And whether that's connecting with a girlfriend or doing something creative or just getting up from my damn desk and going out for a walk, right? Just to get some sunshine and fresh air on my face. Like I know in my body now when my well is pretty empty and I'm still pressing really hard on the gas. So for me, it's I have to be very intentional about downtime and replenishing, and date nights. We have date night planned every week, and we still do stuff on the weekends. Like I want to be really intentional about it's like the Monday through Friday is not just working 12 hours a day. It's like we have these other things. Usually at 3:30 every day, my husband and I go for a walk. We'll make our coffee and we go for a mile walk just to get out of the house. So really being conscious about doing that kind of stuff to breathe, because I most of my 20s, I think I had my blinders on and was in the hustle 24/7 thinking that was how I was going to create a career, and it's not. That's how you just burn out.
I think that is good medicine. It makes you a better person, a better artist, and a better coach. I find that when you are coaching people or when you're helping them, you get just as much in return.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what are a couple of things that you have gotten over the years that's really helped you, Jodie, as a artist and as a human being, that maybe you saw reflected in you, that you are, oh my God, I do that. How
Oh my
can I
God.
change that?
Lydia, that happens like every week. Like, literally, there's never been one big moment. I'm like, oh yeah, here's the mirror again. Here it is. But that's why I love. I mean, I love coaching so much. Like it really fuels me. I think it's made my acting career easier because my well is replenished so much because I get to support other people. And when I can support other people and I see other actors going, oh, I get it. And they get agents or book these jobs. I'm like, like it feels like a win for everybody, and it really fuels me. So that helping other people fuels me. Being able to coach and then realize that I'm coaching myself is also very gratifying and annoying sometimes, but very gratifying. Because it keeps me, and it keeps me walking the walk and talking the talk. Like, I don't think I could be a career coach for actors if I stopped being an actor. And I know there's a lot of people that do that. And there's a lot of acting coaches that aren't actors, right? And they leave the biz. And that's fine. But I know for me deep down, if I'm not an actor, I also couldn't be a coach because I wouldn't feel of integrity, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, like again, on a daily basis, I feel like I'm coaching myself. Because like look, we can all learn things, right? And then you raise up, right? You go from here and you go to here, and then you raise up here, and then all that mindset shit kicks in again because you're at a different level, right? It manifests in a different way. Now you have to learn something new to get to this level, right? So we're constantly growing. It's not like, oh, I figured it all out now I'm just gonna go. It's like, you're gonna grow, and then you're gonna hit a wall again because now we're in a different place. So it's really fulfilling to be a coach. And I think it's why I don't get jaded as an actor. I never get bitter and jaded as an actor. I always see the hope. I always see the possibility and the opportunity. And I do think being a coach has helped me with that a lot.
And you just said something, because you're growing not just as a person, but you have the same cycle as an actor. If you're in acting class, you hit a place where you feel like I'm invincible, and then you go back the next week and you go, I suck. you know
Exactly.
and so you're constantly learning and learning, and I think that's the courageous part of the actor,
Yeah.
is that you are courageous enough to keep learning, uh, in spite of your feelings or your ego, so that you don't let ego get in. You don't let your feelings deter you from, oh my God, I got to start all over. No, you're evolving. That's what evolving looks like. Because sometimes as actors, we go, but I did that 2 years ago. Haven't I? Instead of seeing it, it's a new day. It's
Yeah.
always a new day. There's
Yeah.
always a new opportunity. So let me ask you, what are, like, because you've been working with actors for, is it 15, at least
Yeah.
15
Like 15
years?
years. Yeah.
What are maybe five mistakes that you see actors do constantly? And I'll start with new actors, that
Mm,
you see new actors do this repeatedly.
yeah. I mean, the first thing is resisting branding. Again, I've been teaching branding for 15 years. I was one of the first people in New York to talk about branding for actors. And I think branding gets a bad rap. I think a lot of people talk about it in the wrong way and they talk about it in a limiting way. And I think actors resist it. And again, it goes back to me at 21. I can do anything. And I think that's the big mistake is you're not defining who you are in the career that you want and leaving it up to the whim of the industry. So for me, first and foremost, it's branding because branding for me is not an armor that you have to put on. It's not trying to be something that you're not. It's peeling away, the layers of you to allow people to see it, to allow people to see all the sides of you and really understanding the stories that you want to tell and that you tell better than anybody else. Like, what are those themes of stories that you're drawn to? Like, that's branding for me. And I think people think of it in the wrong way and negate it. And then their materials just aren't specific. And then they wonder why they don't have agents or they're not getting in the rooms they want. And then that just devolves into the cycle of blaming the industry, right? And not taking that responsibility. So, first and foremost, I think rebelling against branding is the biggest mistake that I see, really.
What about actors who have been in the business, say over 10 years, who've been doing it, but they too make certain mistakes?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to say the same thing because like I think people come to me when they've like maybe they started in their 20s, maybe they're in their 30s, late 30s, right? They've been doing it for a while, they've had some success but they can't break through. You know what I mean? Like those are the people that come to me. And I would even say with those actors, like 99.9% of the time we'll start with branding because you evolve, we all evolve over the years, and of course your branding shifts when you age, that's an obvious thing, but I do think that like I've probably rebranded myself about 3 times already in my life. And I think that comes, well, for 3 reasons. One is age, right? Two is you experience something in your life that has changed you, trauma, something, right? I'm a breast cancer survivor, right? After breast cancer, I could tell different stories. I could tell different stories after I lost my father, right? I was caring for my mother. I could tell different stories, and I felt like a different person. So I did a slight rebrand to allow the industry to not just see me in this one way, but see this other undercurrent that I could share. And then, I think it's as an artist, if you're like, hey, I'm not getting seen for these roles and I really want this thing, whatever it may be, then that's time for a rebrand to show people what you want them to see. Because you can't just tell the industry, right? It's always show, don't tell. So I think those are 3 different ways to rebrand. But again, I think it's very similar. I think if you start off in this industry and you don't know who you are, then you're giving your power away and you're letting everyone else control it. You're letting your agent control it, your manager control it, directors, producers control it. But then I think if you've been in the industry a long time and you're not getting in the doors that you want, you got to look at branding and how you're packaging and positioning yourself because something isn't gelling, something is off, people aren't getting something. And a confused mind will always say no, will always say no. So I mean, I think that's what I'm known for. That's what people come to me for is the branding because, and again, that's so hard because we can't see it.
I think it's interesting how we see branding in other professions. Like if we look at music, the music acts are
Yeah,
branded.
of course.
They're very specific in what they sell, to who they sell the
Correct.
music to, how they sell the music. We never question that. We don't look at Beyonce and say, what is she doing? She's
Right.
very on point in what she sells. We go into supermarkets and the product in the supermarket is packaged, it is
Yes.
branded. We
Yes.
pay, we do not think, why is that ketchup bottle different than that ketchup bottle? We get it on a subconscious level. We get
Yes.
it. Like, oh, a Grey Poupon is different from French's, and Heinz ketchup is different from Hunt's. Coca-Cola is different from Pepsi. They spend bazillion dollars to make sure that their branding is on point and that they're catering to a specific audience or a specific customer. We are the same. And so
Yes.
I think, and I learned this. I started in the music business as a teenager. I worked at a radio station in New York from 13 to 18, and then came out here and worked at a record company. And it was always about what is it that you're selling. So that informed me as an actor. I knew I had that. Oh yeah, you got to sell this. And then I studied with a man named Roy London for 9 years, and Roy would make me give branding classes to the actors. Anytime we had a bunch of new actors, he would say, okay, Lydia, it's time for you to teach them.
I love it. I
And so
love it.
I was doing that in the 80s only because I learned that, you know, just coming to Los Angeles to be an actor at 18 years old, that I had to stand out from everybody else.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
it wasn't about my talent. It was about what I was selling. And I knew that before looking at breakdowns. I was like, okay, I have a friend, she's Latin, but she's different from me.
Yeah.
So how am I going to stand out so that they don't confuse me with her? Or, and
Yeah.
branding to me is similar to rehearsals.
Mm,
We need rehearsals as actors.
yeah.
And a lot of times actors want to bypass rehearsal and get to the performance. And
Right.
to me, that's the same thing with branding. You want to bypass branding so you can get the job. Well, you can't get the job if you didn't brand yourself. You can't get to the
Exactly.
performance if you didn't do the rehearsals, and so
Yeah.
it is huge. And it's not that, um, okay, I'm going in another place. I don't want to go there. All right, never mind. We're coming back. We're coming back.
We're coming
So
back. We're coming back.
let's talk about
I just
marketing.
want to I just want to
Uh-huh.
say that I love everything you just said, and you are speaking my language, and I what starts to drive me crazy is when I hear, and I've been hearing it a lot from certain casting directors in the social media sphere, of it's not about your brand, don't worry about your brand, just come in the room and do good work. And then I just want to pause and go, but how am I going to get in the room? How are you going to get in the room? That's branding. You don't walk in the room and go, hello, casting director, this is my brand. No, you are your brand, right? But it has to be clear to get in.
Part of it is that when they recognize an actor who is very specific, they don't get that actor did a lot of work to get to that specificity, right?
Correct.
So
Yep.
they see they're just as taken in the bit. It's like publicity, you
Yeah.
know. Uh, even though it's Hollywood, we buy publicity.
Yeah.
If we see somebody in the trades, oh my God, look at what they're doing. And we're not paying attention to the publicist behind the scene who made sure
Right.
this actor got in front of
Yeah.
got on the front cover of a magazine or got all these accolades, and that there was a publicist when people puts out the best looking man in Hollywood, that was a publicist. There were
Mhm.
there were publicists vying for that spot. It wasn't like the magazine said, let's look at a bunch of actors and see who the best. No, those were publicists. But that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sometimes casting directors, they want the best actor, and they're not thinking in terms of how we have to think about it. That's not their job. So they're not going to focus on, hey, what's your brand? They're going to say, hey, are you good? But you can't get good if you don't know what you're selling.
Correct.
Because if you're doing Shakespeare and they're looking for a thug on the street, Shakespeare is not going to help you. you know, it's like Denzel Washington, who is a phenomenal actor,
Yeah.
was doing Shakespeare before we knew he was Denzel, but he couldn't get a job doing Shakespeare. It wasn't until he became famous from doing the
Yeah.
roles that fit him that he could then say, hey, I want to do King Lear. I want
Yes.
to do this person and that person.
Yeah.
And that he was bought, but he wasn't bought until he was famous in
Yep.
Shakespeare.
Yep.
So we as actors have to be on top of it. So I am with you. I am a big believer that you cannot be a working actor if you don't know what you sell.
Yep.
You can't. I don't care what anybody says. I'll take it. I'll bet them the house. It's not going to happen if they don't know what they're selling.
I agree.
Every now and then you get an actor who comes already organically knowing what they sell, and they're in that lane, but most don't. I'm thinking of Vin Diesel. I don't know if you ever saw his short, Multifacial.
No.
Okay, so this is a great story. I love it. I share it all the time. Uh, um, I worked on a film called Hollywood Shuffle, which opened the
Okay.
door to a lot of people. From the beginning, I was part of it. And over the years, I've seen actors and directors and other people take a page from Hollywood Shuffle. Well,
Mm.
Vin Diesel took a page from Hollywood Shuffle. He saved up about $50,000,
Okay.
and then he did a short. And in the short was basically the life of an actor, the day to day of an actor. So he took us through 5 different auditions.
Okay.
and he showed Hollywood how to buy him. He played, and they all were in wife beaters, so his signature was there from the beginning.
Right.
He showed us how to. He was the action hero. He was the Italian. He was the Latino, but he still had that swag. He was the rapper. He was the sensitive guy. And he basically took us through all his auditions, from commercials.
Wow.
Oh, well, I can't get that because I'm this kind of actor, blah, blah, blah. He took us through it. Steven Spielberg saw it through Sundance. Somehow within the Sundance Festival, that a short circulated. Steven Spielberg saw it, wrote a part for him in Saving Private Ryan. The rest is history. But Vin
Wow.
Diesel packaged himself on how he wanted the industry to buy
Yeah.
him. He was not waiting for somebody to open the door. He pushed the door open, saying, "This is what I do."
Yeah.
And he's a
Love
great
that.
example of somebody saying, "This is what I sell." If he had not done that short, we wouldn't know who Vin Diesel is,
Oh,
because there were a
sure.
lot of Black actors that were biracial out there at the time. But he had the business savvy to say, "Wait a minute, I want you to see me this way because this is what I know how to do." And that's the other thing. As actors, we think we could do everything, but we got to know what it's like wearing a suit, right? Going back to branding,
Yep.
there's certain suits that fit you to a T. And that's
Yes.
how you want to present yourself. You don't want to put on a suit that you're going to need to have tailored, that you're going to need to have refitted, that no longer suits you. Going back to you, yeah, you have to change your what you sell every maybe 4 to 7 years, because you change. And going back to the idea of the well, as you live, your well gets deeper, right? Your emotional well gets deeper. You lose people, you go through certain traumatic events, which then uh, uh, state what it is that you now have. And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of being an actor, is that we're never too old, because our experience just keeps adding we keep adding to the experience. So anyway, I could talk about this forever
I
because
know.
this is the best.
I love
But let's go to the marketing,
it. Okay.
how you help actors with their marketing, because
Yeah.
now they know what it is that they sell, right?
Hmm.
They're clear on, this is what I sell, these are my pictures. Now how do they market that?
Yeah, you said the word already as we were chatting. You said packaging, right? We've been packaged to since we were little kids. We understand the concept of, like you said, Grey Poupon versus Dijon mustard. No, no,
Yeah,
I forgot the other.
because
Anyway, you know what I mean.
yeah.
We understand it. So for me, it's helping people because look, I think there's a lot of branding workshops out there, right? That go, okay, let's get some feedback on how you're perceived, right? Great, that's fine and well and good. But I have a lot of actors come to me and go, I got all this stuff, but I don't know what to do with it. So I really help actors distill information, right? So when I work on branding with people, we really create a branding chart, right? And this branding chart is how you're going to build all of your marketing tools. And everything is going to get built off that, because your marketing tools are an extension of your brand. So how do we take this brand and how do we manifest it in all your marketing tools? So I mean, like, that's headshots, websites, resumes, reels, everything, right? So it's really looking at how can you subliminally get people to understand who you are, your vibe, your essence, your energy, through color schemes, fonts, the packaging that you're using, and everything. So that's really what we do. And headshots are the biggest thing. Oh my God, I love my headshot prep system so much that I've refined over the years. Every actor who does my headshot prep system after they do my branding work gets the headshots they need, like 1,000%. They're so clear, they're so specific, they have fun doing it. And that's what makes the difference with all these little thumbnails on these casting sites. Like, how are you going to pop on that? And it's really getting really specific and clear on your essence. Headshots drive me batty. And I had a client recently even say, well, I need to get my dad shot and my professor shot and this shot. And I'm like, please, like, let's stop thinking about it in that way, please. Oh, please, right? Like, yes, I know that I need a mom shot, right? I'm in that age bracket. I need a mom shot. But my mom shot's going to be different than your mom shot because we have different energy, different essence. We tell different stories, and that has to come through. So that's one of my favorite things in helping actors with is getting that brand specific and then really manifesting it into the headshots because that's the calling card. That's what's getting you in first, right? The headshot is making them click and then they'll look at your reel, right? So those headshots have to be great. They have to be great.
And I would add to that, um, take what the agent tells you, but don't make it set in stone
Yeah.
because you may not be mom material.
Right.
No, it's
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
they have it's cookie cutter stuff. They
Yes.
tell that
Correct.
they tell their clients the same thing. If they see them in a certain age range, they'll say, "Well, you need this, 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 and this," but that might not be your brand,
Yeah.
and you have to be courageous enough to go against what isn't working, what doesn't work for you, because not
Mm-hmm.
everybody is a mom or a dad. Some
Sure.
people really read well as villains. They may
Yep.
not be a villain, but that's how they're perceived. So
Yep.
then you have to go deep in your to pull out your special sauce of what a villain
Yeah.
is. So I
Exactly.
just wanted to add to that because I
Yeah.
hear that with actors all the time. Well, my agent said I need this, this, and this, but do you sell that?
Right.
Why would you take a picture? If I'm not a cowgirl, why would I take a cowgirl picture?
Right.
I'm never going to get cast as a cowgirl.
Right. Right.
It's just being honest with yourself, because
Yes.
you really need to, this is a side note, but you really need to get to know the agent so that they get to know you, so they don't give you cookie cutter directions.
Right. And look, when you start off with an agency or a management, they are going to have their thing that they send to everyone, right? But that's why, again, if you're the CEO of your business and you're the business owner and it's your career and you know your path and your career trajectory of what you want, how are you interpreting that to make sure that you're seen the way you want to be seen? So even when I get mom shot, I know I'm not mid Walmart Midwestern mom. That's not what I sell. I'm more of the PTA type A, get shit done mom, right? So I'm going to get a shot that represents that, which can also be used for multiple other characters, right? So I feel like the type that we put on ourselves, the mom, the professor, the leading lady, whatever, all those types I find are really limiting for people. And our headshots have to be specific, but they get to be used for many roles, not just a mom, not just a
Right.
teacher, right? They
Right.
get to be used for many things. And I
You
remember
want that
watching,
money shot. You want
yes,
that money shot that's gonna fill different things. Just at them looking at it, they go, "Oh, she would be good in this. She would be good in this. She would be good in this."
exactly.
So you don't have to have 20 shots, and then when you go in, when you do a self tape or meet with whoever, you don't have to think, what shot did they send of me? Especially as a
Right,
woman, right? Because you do your hair different, you got different things.
right.
So I want to go to strategy, but I want to add something, because I think this goes right into strategy. Is
Yeah.
when you first, my belief is that when you first get with an agent or you're interviewing with agents, you need to tell them off the bat what you sell, what you're comfortable going up for, what works for you, and what doesn't, so that they have a clear understanding. I don't do nudity, I don't do this, I don't do that. So they don't waste their time sending you up on stuff that you're never going to do. The idea is not to turn down auditions, but to hit it out of the park when you get it.
Yes.
So I think it's important, to be very clear. I don't do this type of stuff. So don't send me up on, Spanish speaking characters, because I don't talk Spanish.
Mm.
you
Mhm.
know, instead
Yeah.
of trying to contort yourself into what they want you to do, you have to be clear. Going back to what you said, you have to be clear. So let's go to
Yeah.
strategy.
No, I want to say one thing on what you said though, because I agree with that 1,000%. And one thing that I really teach my clients is I have them create what I call a press kit, and bringing that into their agent or manager interviews. And that is really like, hey, this is who I am. This is how you can sell me. This is what I do best. And if the agent goes, yes, I see it, I get it, great, they get you, they're the right person for you. If they go, no, I don't know about that or that or that, okay, they're not your person. Because if you've done the work and you're clear about who you are and what you want and where you're going, you need a teammate that agrees with that. And I think too many actors give their power away in agent manager meetings. And they're like, well, what do you see? What do you see me as? Or which headshot do you like better? Who cares? You chose the headshot. You should love them all and agree that they sell you, right? They need to be in agreement with you. So yeah, I feel like we give our power away way too much. And that's what branding is the ultimate empowerment of taking the control in your business and going, no, this is who I am and this is where I'm going. And if you agree and you like it, great. If you don't, great. I'm going on to the next person.
And it goes to collaboration, what we
Yeah.
talked about earlier.
Yes.
You have to be in alignment with your agent or your manager,
Yep.
because you both have to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Now, if you're on the same page and one day the manager says, I think, you know, let's try to get you in on this because I think this might be quite a part for you.
Yeah.
Then you go, okay, we're in this adventure together,
Yes.
as
Yes.
opposed to going, why do you keep setting me up on this stuff? You know, I had a
Exactly.
commercial agent years ago. She kept sending me up on older women. So here I am in the office. I'm in my 30s. I'm going into auditions with women who are in their late 50s. And every time I walked into the audition, the casting director said, you're too young for this. And
Mm.
I went, oh man, I knew it, but I
Yeah.
finally had to tell the agent, and she got pissed and let me go. And I was like, okay, I'm good with it because we were never in alignment. And you know, again, doing a forensic autopsy,
Yeah.
I realized that the woman saw me through a friend, and just she had her own idea, and I never sat with her because commercials weren't important to me, that
Yeah.
I never did my due diligence like I did with the theatrical agent, because I was all up in the theatrical agent's butt about what I was going to do, what I wasn't going to do. But when it came to commercials, I was like, okay, you want to set me up on
Right.
this? And it was never a comfortable fit. And
Yeah.
so it's important for actors to come and tell them what they sell. You know, what is it that you sell? Be really clear so
Yeah.
that you don't waste each other's time. Because the worst thing an actor can do, in my opinion, is the agents get you auditions and you cancel.
Mm.
You don't show up. That
Yeah.
is so
God.
disrespectful. It is
Mhm.
so it's a you know, the agent doesn't get money until you make money.
Yep.
So they're busting their butt to try to get you in the door to places, and you're turning it down. So if you're in alignment with the agent, they're not going to waste their time or your time.
Yes. Totally.
So
Totally.
moving to strategy, talk
Okay.
to me.
Oh my God. I mean, there's so much strategy. I don't even know where to start with this topic. I mean, look, and this is the thing. I think a lot of actors will start and go, well, I know I need to have market myself, which really market myself means a strategy to get known, right? So, I need to market myself. So they'll start like reaching out to people before they know who they are, before they have great materials, before they have all this stuff, right? But it literally is for me a linear process, right? You got to get your mind right, like we were talking about. You got to know what you want, right? Because that goes hand in hand with branding. Then you got to brand, and then we got to package it to get all the marketing tools. Then we can figure out our strategy. Then we can start to reach out, you know. But I think it's much easier to market your product when you know who you are and what you want, because then you know which casting directors to target, then you know who your target audience is, then you know more about what you're even going to say about yourself because you understand your strengths, your weaknesses, who you are, what you do best. So for me it's so linear by the time we get to strategy. But I mean, I have a whole getting an agent system and a manager system in the actors think tank. And I will say again, like 98% of the actors who go through that system always get agents and managers because they've done all the other work. So why wouldn't someone say yes? Because you know who you are and you know what you want, and it's clear. And most actors don't do that. So when agents, managers, even cast directors like see this, and like you said, they don't get it. They don't know how much work has gone behind it, but you're literally just a breath of fresh air to them because they go, oh, someone who gets it. They know who they are. I can sell that, right? They're salespeople. So, I mean, look, strategy can be done in many ways, right? We could probably talk about strategy for a whole 2 hours on its own. But I mean, strategy now is also like, what's your social media strategy? How are you reaching out there? How are you reaching out to casting directors? How are you reaching out if film is your thing? Are you going to film festivals? Are you reaching out to directors and writers from films that you like at these film festivals? How are you getting your agent? What's your strategy there? What's your follow-up strategy? How are you maintaining relationships with people that you've met? There's so much strategy and follow through that we get to do, which is why I am such a proponent of systems. Having systems in place takes the emotion out of everything, and then you're just going doing your system. You're like, this is what I do. I'm an actor. I wake up every day. I'm going to do my things, and then I'm done. So I love systems because I think they're just like a warm, cozy blanket that we can fall into, right, to keep us on track, or else it just feels like a crapshoot.
Right. What is great about your program, and I really appreciate it, is that you have actors take accountability,
Yeah.
and you've created a community. So for those of you who are watching this and you are interested in what we're talking about, you need to check out Jodie's um, actors think tank, and it's going to be below. All the information will be below for you to be able to access it. But I love that it's month to month, and so you can do it throughout the year and have someone kind of not only hold you accountable, but hold your hand and encourage you. And I think all actors need that. We need that just as much as we need an acting coach to prepare us for the gig. We need to be prepared for business, and business changes, right? We just went through the pandemic, then we went through the strike.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a good community to uh, keep you buoyed up,
Yeah.
you'll quit. You'll go, you know what, it's not worth it. I don't think I want to do this. So I love the program that you offer, and
Thank
so
you.
I
Thank you.
think for every actor, if it's not Jodie's program, you need to find a program that gives you uh, all of those pieces, because it's not, I just need branding and then I'm good. No, you need more.
Right.
It's a whole package, because as actors we face certain things, and if you have a group of actors that you can connect with and be able to share your difficulties with, or share, what, I went on this, I met with this manager, and I feel a little uncomfortable about it. Let me share with you
Right.
what happened. And they can tell you, you know what, that's not good. Or they can say, yeah,
Mhm.
that's part of the process. But you're not left to your own devices. Um, because then it starts rumors, right? it it
Correct.
is it is what our head says instead of the truth.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think that is so important, because as actors, our minds are fertile, and we will
Mhm.
create stories that have no place anywhere.
Oh,
But
we're
we're
so
gonna
good.
throw it out. Just like when the strike was happening, I heard the craziest things. I was like, where are you getting your information from? What
Yeah.
is that? That is not a true statement. So
Mhm.
I love what you are offering, because I do think you are
Yeah.
one of the few people that offer a complete package. So I,
Yeah.
I just want
Thank
to give
you.
you some kudos
Thanks.
for, as an actor, to be generous enough to share with actors, because
Oh,
you can have all the information and keep it to yourself, which a lot of actors do, right? They make it seem like,
true.
oh, this, and if you look behind the curtain, you go, wow, all those people are helping that person get where they need to go. Holy moly. So I love it. I want to
Thank
talk
you.
about you right now,
Okay.
you, the actor.
Yes.
Um, uh, I want to, you had mentioned that when you were at NYU, you really thought you were going to do musical theater.
Mhm.
So, because I think a lot of actors pivot from what they thought they were going to do into other things.
Yeah.
I first of all, I want to talk about your love for musical theater and what made you want to do, out of all the mediums in acting, What was it about musical theater that you loved?
Oh God. Well, I started like singing when I was 10 and doing musicals, right, at the local high school and our the high school where I went, I grew up in New Bedford, Massachusetts. And so it was about 3.5 hours, 4 hours from New York City. And our drama directors they had the inn everywhere in New York and everywhere. And they also ran the Summer Stock Theater in our hometown. So our high school, they would rent our costumes from New York. So like I played, Reno Sweeney and Anything Goes in high school, and that was like the original Broadway costumes for like for Anything Goes. So they really instilled in me a love of musical theater so much, and we would do trips to New York all the time and see shows as a drama club. And so when I started doing theater, it was like our auditorium was like a huge 1,000-seat auditorium or something. Like it was big and it felt amazing. We had body mics. I had my own dressing room. Like it felt fancy and wonderful. And then of course I moved to New York and there's like, a black box theater with 40 seats. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, what is this? Is this theater too? I didn't get it. But yeah, I just grew up singing so much. And like I said, I feel like the stage was very healing to me. And I always loved singing. So when I went to NYU, I didn't study musical theater at NYU. I took singing lessons and voice lessons throughout. I studied at Stella Adler, so it was just straight acting. But yeah, I always thought it was musical theater, and yes, that's what I did for a long time. But then I fell out of love with it because um, when I was really pursuing it at the end of my time in New York, it was all the jukebox musicals that were coming out. So it wasn't the stories weren't great. The books weren't great. It was just trying to piece together these songs of artists. And it didn't motivate me. It didn't motivate me. Then of course I left New York and Hamilton happened and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, that's the theater, that's the good stuff. But yeah, I just fell out of love with it because it became not the stories that I was excited to tell.
And what was the next thing? So you fell out of love with musical theater for a minute.
Yeah.
Where did your eye go to after
Yeah.
that?
Well, I was doing television as well in conjunction. I was doing commercials and I was doing some TV stuff in New York. And I really started to like TV. And that was also around the same time where this concept of legacy became really strong in me. And it was, around the time I started my business and I was like, oh, that my teachings can be a legacy. I can help actors. But also I realized, oh, I get to leave a legacy with my art as well. And you go do a show. I'd go to regional theater or summer stock theater and do a show, and then there's no record of it. There's no nothing. No one sees it because you don't record it right at that time. And it just felt like I would do this creative work and it would poof just be gone, into the ether. And if you saw it, you saw it, and if you didn't, you didn't. And so as I started doing more television, I was like, oh, I love this because this will be around forever, right? This is a legacy. This is leaving a legacy. So that was really what made me switch to TV and then started producing film. And then that's what brought me out to LA. And then I sort of switched gears completely into TV and film and voiceover and commercials out here. Though I have to say, last year I did start singing again. I had a few musical theater auditions, dusted off my book, and I had a callback for a reading of a new musical. And it felt really good to sing again. It felt really good. And I realized that I love new works, contemporary works, deep characters, stories with meaning. So I'm finding my way back into musical theater now, because I didn't realize how much of my heart was in it, but I really do love it. I really do love it.
You mentioned in high school you had teachers that had their pulse on musical theater.
Yeah.
Was there a specific teacher or a couple of teachers that gave you some tools that you still use today? And if so, what are the tools that you still have in your toolbox as an actor that you pull up
Oh
all the
God.
time?
God, it's like, my technique is such a mishmash from so much stuff. You learn so much over the years. Um, well, I do think that, high school gave me my high school directors, George Charbonneau and Armand Marchand, I'll say their names. They gave me, they believed in me and they gave me the belief in myself that like, oh, I could actually do this. I could do this as a career. Right. And that's why they gave me the courage to be able to go to NYU and do all of that. As far as like a teacher that I pulled stuff from, I've had so many. I loved Stella Adler Conservatory where I studied at NYU. I really loved it. And there's still things that I learned that I even learned as a freshman of like breaking down a script and doing things that I'll still pull out and use all the time. What else? Krista Flanagan, she's not teaching anymore, but the way I learned comedy from her, I use that shit all the time. Like how, and how to approach the reversals and the builds and the this and the that. Love it so much. But I think like how I pretty much like approach auditions. Every time I get an audition, I'll approach it in the same way. And I feel like it's just a mishmash of everything that I've learned throughout the years, and I think that's the beauty of acting is there's no one way to do it, you know and you study here and there and everywhere, and then you go, oh, that worked for me, and that piece worked for me, and that piece worked for me, and you start to put together your own way of doing it, and then you said your own special sauce on it, right? What is that? Like, one thing I love doing with my characters, which actually came out of my branding work with actors, I love to look for, like, what is the deep wound of my character? What is their wound? What is their limiting belief? Right? Because that's behavior. That's how people behave in the world, is through the lens of their limiting beliefs. So that's one thing, and I think I added that in because of what I taught, right? Of like, I'm going to find this in my character because it resonated with me. So yeah, I think it's been a mishmash of so many people. um but yeah, I love my little technique that I've pulled from and created, over the years. It resonates with me, and I think that's so important. I think actors are always trying to find the right way to do things, and the only right way is the way that resonates with you and gets you to be free and spontaneous in your art.
I love you mentioned George and Armand
Yes.
and how they encouraged you, believed in you, and instilled faith in you to
Yeah.
pursue your art.
Yeah.
Um, do you have anybody today that continues to do that for you, or do you keep pulling from what they gave you?
Oh gosh. I think my mentors have like ebbed and flowed, you know. I think I'll say a couple things. One is not necessarily a mentor, but my husband is my reader on all of my auditions, since the pandemic. And he's the biggest cheerleader, and I know he really believes in me and pushes me, and every time I have an audition, he's like, all right, he's like, what are we auditioning for today? And it just feels very collaborative, which is so fun. And I know, a lot of actors get to do self tapes over Zoom, and I get to have a body in my office, who's coaching me and directing me. Even though he calls me out on my isms sometimes, I still love it. So
That's good though. We
it's
need that.
good.
We need
He's like,
people
you're
who
doing your thing again. I'm like, stop it.
hold us to the fire. We need that. My daughter is that for me. She will call me out all, you're not really talking to me. I don't and I
Right.
appreciate that. Even when I get mad, I appreciate that.
Yes,
It's like,
totally. I know.
yes.
I get so mad at him, and I'm like, no, keep telling me. And he's like, but you're mad. I don't want to make you mad. I'm like, no, it's good that I'm mad, but just keep saying it because I need it. But I'd say, I've known this acting teacher for a long time now, and I'm in her acting class now, Kimberly Jensen.
Oh, yes.
I feel so supported by her. And she just coached me on an audition, and she's like, send me the self tape. And it's, just the way she's like directing me in class, and everything is been really, I feel really like, I feel like someone has my back right now, and I didn't feel like I had that for a while, but I think that was because I didn't seek it out and I wasn't looking for it. Or maybe I didn't think I needed it. I'm actually not sure. But right now, like, I know she has my back. If I need anything, like, she'll do it. And that feels really good. And she just keeps saying, just thank me in your Oscar speech. Thank me in your Oscar speech. It's like, I will, Kimberly. So
And that's
yeah,
what a
she's,
great acting teacher does.
yeah,
They have your back.
yeah.
They make you safe. Or you shouldn't be in an act. Let me rephrase that. You
Mhm.
should not be in an acting class if you don't feel safe.
Yes.
Your teacher
Yes.
should make you feel safe, supported, and uh, able to be vulnerable and naked uh, with fearlessness.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I love what you said, because that is what an acting teacher brings to
Yes.
any acting student, is the courage to soar.
Yeah.
You want to be with somebody who sees you in your best,
Mm-hmm.
not all your shortcomings, but they see your possibility
Yeah.
and they push you toward it. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is fantastic. That is beautiful. I
Yeah.
want to know, because we've been hitting it delicately throughout this
Yep.
conversation. What do you want your legacy to be?
Hmm. Oh God, it makes me cry. It really makes me cry. Um, I one of my big values in life is belonging, and it stems from my sister. My sister is cognitively disabled, so she's 2 years older than I, but she still functions on the level of a 2-year-old. So she still talks in baby sounds and needs to be taken care of. I'm now her guardian. Both my parents have passed, so I'm her guardian. And but when I was a kid, and I grew up with her and she was the older one, right? And so I never saw anything different. I was like, well, she's my sister. This is what it is. And then it wasn't until like 9, 10 years old, the boys would walk by the yard and make fun of her. And, then I started seeing her as something different. And it made me so angry when people treated her differently. And little 10-year-old Jodie would go out on the porch and yell at those boys and tell them to go away. And they didn't know what they were talking about. And so my sister really instilled in me, I think, that everyone belongs. Everyone has a place and everyone belongs. And my sister belongs in this world. And even though she doesn't have a voice, she has a voice and she has a place. And I think that's also what made me become a coach. um is I believe if you want to have an acting career, if that's in your heart and that is in your soul, if people say, oh, if you can do anything else, do it, I do not like those people. Right? Those are people who are projecting bullshit on you because they didn't have the courage to do it. But if this is what you want to do, you get to do it. And that's one of the things, that's why I changed my company name in January to Actor Insider, because I think like so many actors feel like they're on the outside, that they try to do this business and they're on the outside and they feel like they don't belong. And my legacy is I want to make every actor feel like they belong and they have a place in this industry and they deserve to be here. You just got to do the work. Just do the freaking work. But you can be there if that's what you want. So that's part of my legacy, is really this sense of belonging and that you can be on the inside of this industry. Just make the choice to do it. So for as a coach, that's I think a big part of my legacy, and I want my teachings to last beyond me, which is also why I changed the name of my company from just Jodie Bentley Career Coach to Actor Insider, because that will live on. That company could live on, and that can go global. So for me, that was a very conscious choice at the top of this year to fulfill the legacy even more.
I love
Um,
it.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was saying, as an actor, again, going back to that sense of belonging as well. I tell the stories that I'm most drawn to are how can we raise social consciousness and realize that we are all connected in some way, right? That universality of everything. And so, as an actor, I really want to find the stories, and that's why I wrote my screenplay as well. The stories where people can see themselves, the stories where people can heal, right? That we can raise everyone up and make people question or think, or talk about things in a different way, and not in a heavy-handed way. Obviously, it's entertaining and whatever, but I just want to leave projects in art, that makes people think and then realize how close we all really are, right? So yeah.
I would add to you, you are a defender and a fierce protector.
Mm,
That's the gift your sister gave you.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know that, no, you will not marginalize these people. They are
yeah.
equal. They are equal. They're different but equal.
Yes.
I think that's a beautiful legacy to
Thank you.
put out
Thank
there.
you.
I want to ask, during the strike,
Yeah.
because we had a 6-month strike, which uh, really freaked a lot of actors out, to say the least. I could say other things, but it freaked them out. And I was fortunate in I when I first got to Hollywood, and I just got my union card. We went on strike in the 1980s strike.
Oh, yeah, right.
And so we didn't have social media. We didn't have the internet. We would pack into ballrooms at the Universal Hilton or the Sheraton or some hotel. You
Yeah.
would see actors from all walks of life. You'd see the A actor and the leading actor from a TV show. And so there was a solidarity during that strike that we all knew we were on the same page to get taken care of,
Yes.
financially. And the union was strong back then. We've we have watered down the union because actors can be fearful and think small minded. Out of the three unions, this is my little pet peeve, so please bear with me because I have to vet for a second. Out of the three unions, the Writers Guild, the Directors Guild, and the SAG-AFTRA Guild, we are the weakest because our members do not unify to make sure that we have a deal in place that benefits everybody. Sometimes actors are, I go back to that me song. It's all
Yeah.
about me.
Yeah.
I can get the money grab. I can get, the $500 to pay my car note or whatever. So I don't care about, down the line. And I think as actors, we have to start thinking down the line because it's not just about one job, it's about a career. And the union is only as strong as the actor is. If we if we leave the union on the side to take care of this little job that really isn't going to do anything for your career other than give you a couple of bucks, I'm a big believer, have another job, a side job, to bring in the finances, because in the long run that will help you. I
Yes.
think I heard a panel discussion that you uh, led on YouTube, and it really sat with me because we don't have a middle class anymore for actors.
Yeah.
And I believe that we lost it when actors started taking money on the side to, I'll
Mm,
do this little job, don't worry about that.
sure.
That we need to get back to that place.
Yeah.
So we need to get back to where an actor can make a living from their art and not have to do other jobs. As I say that, I want to be very clear that as you are working towards your career, you really do need another job. So I'm not being wishy washy. I just know the facts, and
Sure.
I can't be a good artist if I can't pay my bills.
Right.
I can't be a good artist if I'm worrying about how I'm going to pay the rent. My self tape is going to look horrible. It's not going to be authentic because
Right.
all you see, what actors don't realize is we're transparent.
Yeah.
So if we're not happy and we're supposed to be happy, our
Right.
eyes are very sad.
Mm-hmm.
So
Totally.
if you take care of yourself financially and be willing to let go of a $200 job that's asking to scan you
Right.
for perpetuity, and you will never see another dollar, that if you have another job you can say I'm going to pass. And if
Yep.
we can get all actors to pass on the bullshit jobs, on those things that degrade you, because you end up taking it and you're in the job feeling degraded, demoralized, just horrible, and you keep going,
Yeah.
why did I take this job? Why? It's like,
Right.
so if you can make a living in the meantime until you can make a living at your art in the way that will bless you
Mhm.
financially, I'm a big proponent of it.
Yeah.
So thank you for allowing me to vent here. And now I want your take of how you perceive um, the best way for actors to go about to build up the union,
Yeah.
because I think Unions are coming back. We're seeing
Yes.
it now. They're
Yes.
they're starting to come back stronger, and I would like to see our next negotiation that none of the studios, none of the streamers can say anything but yes. Here we go. We're signing on the dotted line. Let's move on. And the only way we're going to get there is if there's a mindset shift with actors.
Yeah. This is a loaded conversation.
Just
Um,
whatever you think of.
yeah, no, it's a lot. Just even going off what you just said, right? That the of actors thinking long term, and I think that's really important. I think FICOR has decreased the strength of our union. And giving, you have that. So now you can either be union or not, or do both or not, like that. I would never go FICOR. Again, this is my belief. If that's what you're doing, then I trust you have your reasons for it. And right, we get to let everyone make their own choices. But I do agree that our union is not as strong as it could be, um, because I think actors just want to work, right? Oh, I'll take that $500 job, that $200 non-union commercial, or I'll do this or I'll do that. But how is that moving the needle? How is that moving you forward in your career? And I get that people could say, well, Jodie, it's helping put food on my table this month. Okay, who am I to talk about that? However, I all know if your goal is TV and film and these union jobs, we all have to stand together, to think of for the bigger picture. I do think that a lot of actors look at the union and go, well, what can the union do for me? And, not to like pull a whatever, but saying, well, what can you do for the union? Because the union, we're all working together here, right? Are you on a committee? Are you showing up to the WNWs and listening to negotiations? How are you being a part of this? Because the union is there to support you and help you, but they don't work for you. It's a union, right? And so I think it's really, and most of the people who work in the union, except the people who are really high up, most of them are volunteers when they get, I was a convention delegate for 6 years, 8 years, something like that. I don't know, that's
I
not a paid
served on
job.
a committee. Yes,
Yeah,
you
you serve
serve
on a
on
committee.
committees. Yes.
Yeah, national board members are volunteers. Local board members are volunteers, right? So these people aren't working for you. They're volunteers looking at the bigger picture of how we can all grow together. So, if you're listening to this and you've had negative feelings about the union, I get it, right? We're all going to feel our feelings about stuff and want things to be different, but I invite you to be more involved, because if you're more involved, you can really see what's going on. You can also give your voice and you can be part of it to make the change. Um, but I think actors all have to be on the same page to be able to make that change. And the hard thing about our union is that it's not just actors; it's broadcasters, it's actors, it's stunt performers, it's background actors. We all, even those four people, need different things. That's why, of course, directors can make come to agreement on a contract faster, because they're just negotiating for one job description. When we have multiple, we have singers, we have dancers, right? We have multiple things that we get to negotiate for, and I think that makes it more challenging.
Here's my take on it.
Yeah.
We don't understand the benefits of union protection.
Yeah, sure.
And why that is important. That if you are on a union job and they are not doing things that is kosher, you get to call your union and say, hey, I need a rep down here now.
Yep.
That being a union member has a lot of perks, a lot of benefits. And even though you need to put food on your table today, you're going to need to put food on your table down the line. So you might as well say, how else can I earn money so that I can have a better payday a year from now? Because
Yes.
if you are an actor who is looking long term, and that's where we have to focus, is acting is a career. It's not, I think the bad thing is we're always looking at these courses that how do you book work now? It's not just about now. It is about long term. A doctor has a long career, and if we're smart as actors, we get to have a long career too. But if you keep, and I think they should do away with FICOR. I think that is the worst thing that came to the union. I don't care what anybody says. That is horrific, because it weakens us. It's like, well, if you can't find another way to make a living until your acting can take off, then maybe you should rethink being an actor, because the goal is not to make $200 on this job and then they run it for 10 years and you never see another penny. This is about finances. You have to be smart here. So I know I am on a soapbox here,
No, I agree
but
with you. I
it
agree
is
with you.
when I have friends that call me that are union actors and they go, well, this producer called me and said, they really want to use me, but they can't do contract. I say, you know what? They don't want to do a contract because the union SAG has so many different tiers to help the independent producer.
Yeah.
So if they can't get you a SAG contract, you have no business working on that project.
Yep.
None at all. And you have to see yourself as an actor, as a professional, not as a whore, which is what they think you are. That's why they're calling you on the side and not your agent. And they're saying, hey,
Mm,
can you work on this project? Because they see you as a hoe. Okay? That's how they see you. They perceive you as a hoe. They don't perceive you as the professional that you are. And you have to
right.
pass. You have
Yeah.
to pass. You have to be business savvy as
Yeah.
much as you are creative savvy. You have to
Yes.
say, wait a minute, if I take this job that's going to give me $500, meanwhile, they're going to make a bunch of money on the back end, and I'm never going to get a residual. Because remember, when you take money under the table or you do a non-union job, you never get a residual, and that is part of how we make our money as
Yep.
actors. So
Yep.
I just want to put it out there. You do whatever you want, but know that that burden is also on your shoulders. So when you start complaining about what the union is not doing, just remember you are
Yep.
the reason why they're not doing what they can do, because you have tied their hands and their feet and say, now work for me. It doesn't work
Yeah.
like that.
It does not.
So I'll
It
shut
does
up
not.
now,
No, I love it.
Jodie. I'll
And I
shut
want to
up.
and I want to say I love what you're saying too about like I am a huge fan of multiple streams of income. And even I know you were saying when you get to a certain point in your acting career, you don't have to do other stuff. But even if you look at the top 1% actors, then they become brand ambassadors and they start clothing lines and they start other things. Even the top tier of actors, they have multiple streams of income because that's where it's at. Because you have no idea. You get your series regular role and then the show gets cut, right? So then what? Right? So I am a huge proponent of multiple streams of income to fuel your creativity and fuel your artistry. And I think it's so important to find stuff that can fuel you and not suck your energy dry, right?
And I love the fact that as an actor, you also are a voice artist. So you've
Yeah.
narrated over 50 projects, maybe even more now.
Yeah.
But I think actors also have to be willing to look at non-traditional acting stuff that brings in
Yeah.
that extra income,
Yes.
because years ago, we didn't have the ability to be narrators on projects.
Hmm.
That was for the big star.
Yeah.
But now there's a lot of ways as an
Oh yeah.
actor for you to make money that is not going to make you look like a whore. I
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
I want to be vulgar here. Um, I
You can be
just
as
want
vulgar as you want. It's your
let
podcast.
me tell you, my mother was a prostitute, so I know this very well. And there's a tier of prostitutes. It's like there's the call girl, there's the escort, there's the call girl, there's the prostitute, there's the whore, and then there's the hoe. You keep coming off as the hoe, the little crack hoe that will take $5 uh, to do extra work. So don't do that. And I don't mean extra work like on a shoot. I mean extra work like you do too much for nothing.
Right, 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 right.
So stop it. Stop it, people. Stop it. Be the actor. Have pride in yourself. Have pride in your art and what you do.
Yes.
Believe that you are worthy to get paid big bucks so we can
Amen.
all do well.
Rise up.
We
Yep.
all do well if we all think of our future. Even if you are egotistical and it's all about you, I want you to think about, I'm not going to take this $200 because if I take this $200, I forfeit the 20,000 or the
Right.
$50,000 down the line because
Yeah.
it adds residuals. Give us, on those days when you aren't working and you get a check in the mail that you weren't expecting, it's
Very
like,
nice.
ooh, I got a $500 check. Ooh, even if I got a $20 check, that's still a sandwich.
Yep. Yep.
So I just want to say that I want to ask you,
Yes.
if the last question,
Yeah.
if you could um if you could give one piece of advice to someone out there who thinks they want to be an actor, what
Mm.
would that be?
Mm. You got to want it. I really think if you think you want to be an actor, really get clear with yourself if you why you want it, and just be getting really clear that you want it, and yeah, and the why. I think the why is so important. I think so many people leave this business or get bitter and jaded about the business because they forget why they're doing it. And why you become an actor, I think, is yeah, that's your driving motivation, right? That's what's going to keep you going. So if you want to be an actor, get clear on why. Why must you do this? And not why must you do this over anything else, just why must you do this? And I think you get to be clear on that. And then I really suggest to get serious about it. I think decide. Well, I'll say this. Let me dial it back. Decide if this is just something you want to do to have fun, because you can go do community theater, you can go read plays with your friends, you can do a bunch of stuff. Or if you say, hey, this is a career, then let's get serious about it, and start being serious about it right away. Build the career path, build the career trajectory. Don't leave things up to fate. Don't leave things to the whim of the industry. Don't be me at 21 thinking you're just going to be famous because you walk into a couple auditions. Like, lay the groundwork to give yourself a leg up and to be successful. Give yourself that plan, give yourself that gift.
If you love this interview, check out my interview with casting director Patrick Baca, coming up now.